Welcome to the Keystone Education Report, where Pennsylvania's education leaders come together to discuss the issues shaping our schools. Today, we're going to focus on artificial intelligence, or AI, and its growing role in the classroom and education across the Commonwealth. Joining us first is Dr. Josh Ecker. He's the STEM and Learning Innovations Coordinator at the Chester County Intermediate Unit. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right in. So how about start with you? Talk to me a little bit about AI and how you use it. How's it a part of your daily routine?
Sure. So I think like many people have an evolving answer to that question. You know, in 2023, it really was not part of my kind of daily workflow. It was just something that, you know, was out there, newly out there, and we knew we had to start looking into it. So, you know, the anecdote I always tell is that, you know, when AI first came out, it was, well, why would I use this instead of just Googling it?
Right.
And now it's totally flipped to, well, why would I Google this when I can go to AI and have this in-depth conversation? So it's evolved, but I would say at this point, I use it in a few different ways. One is kind of the ways that you know, we all started using it. Those of us who did jump in 2023 with help with emails and fine-tuning writing and things like that. And then it's evolved from there into being more of a thought partner. So not necessarily making decisions, but helping me identify different paths I hadn't thought of for different decision-making processes. And then also, you know, we're just getting into this kind of agentic phase with AI where it's allowing us to automate some things and try some new things that are really, to me, I think, just as big of a leap as when ChatGPT and these other LLMs were first kind of released in 2023.
So I'm going to jump to the assumption part of your job is then working with some of the school districts in Chester County, right? The intermediate unit serves them, to help them identify potential uses for kind of AI and how it might impact their work at the classroom or at the district level. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. So our districts in Chester County, even beyond, you know, we've had different districts and schools across the state who, you know, have been looking at AI from all angles because there's really no one right pathway into it or one right approach to implementation. So it's been supporting districts and schools wherever they are to identify what their plan is and how they want to bring that to life in their context.
As you've been working with some of these districts locally and across the state, as you said, where are they really jumping in? Is there any one place that stands out to you in terms of most districts embrace AI or engage in AI at first in this space? Does that exist?
I think this is true in any context, but there are those in any educational system that are very excited to try it out and experiment and see what works for them, what doesn't. And then there are those who are more hesitant and are willing to say, I'll let my colleagues who are excited about this take the lead, and then I'll see what works from them and then take the best of that eventually. So, you know, within any educational system, there's such as wide of a range as you could imagine of perspectives and uses. So when we're looking at a school or district as a whole, it can be really complicated because as, let's say, a building leader or a system leader, you want to have some kind of cohesive approach, but one that's flexible enough for all the educators, everyone in the context to approach AI in a way that makes sense for them and allows them to improve the experience for students. So in terms of what are some of the common pathways, a lot of the time it's just building that familiarity, that comfort level with teachers. So doing a lot of intro to AI professional learning sessions. But what we are encouraging districts and schools to do is to really continue to push beyond that and use that as maybe a launch point to decide as a community, what is our vision for AI? What do we want it to look like and what do we not want it to look like in our context?
So put yourself in the position of being an early adopter, excited about the possibilities in a school district. If you're advising that person, where can they start? Is this beyond the comfort level? Are there some specific, you know, use cases that you're seeing districts say, we're going to put AI, you know, we're excited about it, it's going to go here. We're going to, I don't know. What can they do with it?
Yeah, so there are, I'd say on really just a technical level to keep our IT teams happy, we should look and see what kinds of enterprise licenses we have for different AI tools. So any school or district with a Google suite or Google Enterprise can turn on Gemini. Same with Microsoft with Copilot. So there are different options. So I'd start by looking at that because that will set you up for success if you're brand new to AI and don't know some of the best practices and pitfalls. And then in terms of specific use cases, I think the starting point, the kind of lowest friction entry point is as, let's say, a teacher or an administrator, thinking about how you can use it for your own work and your own thinking. So not to outsource your thinking, but again, to expand some possibilities you might not have even realized. And what that could mean is, as an administrator, let's say you're working on your strategic plan or your comprehensive plan, and you have it drafted, you've worked with your team collaboratively to put it together, and then you want to stress test it and get some feedback. You can then feed that to AI and say, here's our plan, here was our process, and why we kind of landed where we did. What would you do to improve this? So that would be one option. On the teacher side of things, you could look at having it help you with lesson planning. So one thing that I am really excited about with AI is the opportunity to create truly student-centered, personalized learning experiences for our students. And so let's say you're a teacher who has this new unit coming up, and it's kind of structured very traditionally with a lot of teacher talk or kind of one-size-fits-all pathway for students. You could feed that unit plan to AI and say, I would like to make this more personalized, more student-centered, maybe project-based learning as a model. So that's something that as a teacher you could start with, where there really is no downside to trying it and seeing how it works. It might not work the way you want, and that's okay. AI is one of those weird things where sometimes it's incredible, other times it's incredibly frustrating. And you have to just try and see how it goes, and then know that you can always reprompt it to get a different result. So those are examples of what I would encourage teachers, administrators to start with, and then as a next step, once there's that comfort level and maybe more of a cohesive vision in mind, that's when I would really start to think about what it might look like for students to start to engage with it in a way that's developmentally appropriate, but how can we help to prepare students to enter a world with AI? And I mean, even school itself, regardless of our decisions as leaders, it's in our schools.
So the other side of the coin, right? We've talked about people that are excited, embrace it, what can I do? You've got some folks, and I think you said this up front, that are hesitant, let me see what happens in other places, and how other people adapt to it. How do you convince them that it's worth exploring? How do you demonstrate that there's enough value to overcome, if it's hesitancy, if it's fear, whatever it is, to jump in and start trying these things?
Good question, and I think there are two things that I would do specifically to help those individuals who are a little more hesitant about it. One is to connect it to these past technologies that have moved at a similar pace. I mean, AI is maybe moving faster than any other, but if we look back at the 90s and early 2000s when the internet was becoming widely available to teachers and to our students, it's something where it inevitably changed the school experience, both in exciting ways and challenging ways. And the classrooms that thrived the most with the advent of the internet were those who could bring it in the ways that they wanted to and have a vision for the use cases that made sense for them, and then kind of put some guardrails around those that they didn't want. So that's an earlier technology. And then we look at kind of an example that I would say didn't work out that well for us, which is social media. There's clearly lots of issues with social media, both in schools, outside of schools, for our students. And could we have done more with social media to prepare our students for this world that they live in, and our teachers too? So those are the examples I look to and point to when I'm trying to explain to anyone why we need to be proactive about AI and considering both its possibilities and some of its challenges. And then the other, a little more maybe specific and immediate things I think we can do for individuals who are hesitant with AI is give them something they can try in it that's an easy win. So it could be submitting that unit plan and getting some immediate feedback. It could be as an administrator, submitting your master schedule and saying, what issues are you seeing here? What misalignments are there? So those are some of the things I recommend as a quick win for those who are hesitant, and giving some flexibility and also some structure with what progress we want to see. So, what is, and that depends on the school or the district, what is the kind of expectation and how can we bring everyone along in a way that makes it maybe not totally comfortable, because there will be some level of discomfort, but in a way that's not so uncomfortable that they resist and are disinterested in doing so.
We've got a minute left, and I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Google has now a tool, and Microsoft, and there's Claude, and there's, the list goes on and on. I think we're getting flooded with tools. How does a district, or how would you suggest to a district that they go about evaluating those and making smart choices, right? As you said, everything's moving so quickly. Is there a way to do it? And what is a district looking for generically, right? Because I'm sure it's a little different for everybody, but how do you go about kind of weighing out the million options that are out there and saying, okay, we'll start down this path. This seems like the right way to go.
So on one level, it's the same as what we would do for any technology we're bringing into our buildings. So that would be, does it meet all data and privacy compliance laws and protect data the way it needs to? And related to that, and maybe even a little more broadly, is the idea of do we trust this company, or to what extent do we feel we can trust this company? And that is not an easy question to answer, even with some of the long-standing ones. But there are those who have been around longer and have developed some level of trust and credibility that I think does matter when we're looking at a new technology. So there's those kinds of questions that we'd ask of any new technology we're bringing in. Specifically for AI, again, there's the level of what is already kind of built into the systems we have in place in our school or district. And then beyond that, you're looking at one that I would say you can build in some guardrails for students, right, to make sure that, again, they're getting opportunities to try it out and learn how to use it in developmentally appropriate ways. And then we're also thinking about with AI, is the model that we're using, right, the kind of underlying technology, so whether that's Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, is the model we're using competitive with some of the others out there, or similar enough that we can transfer our learning from one to another? And most of the time, if you're using one of the general purpose models, that's true. When you get into more specialized tools, the pro and the con is that on the one hand, if you take an education-specific AI tool, it will give you more of those guardrails and kind of give you more of the structure that you might want in place. And the trade-off is that a student who learns AI through a very school-specific model might have more trouble transferring that to other models they would use outside of the school environment. So those are the trade-offs, and there's no right or wrong. But what I would encourage is, we've seen some schools and districts do something where they will pilot multiple tools one at a time, not school-wide or district-wide, but just for those classrooms that are kind of ready to try something. And they'll use one tool for a period of time, then try another, and then use that as a point of comparison between the two. So that's something I would encourage. And some of these companies, because it is such a competitive landscape, they're willing to do these pilots for low or no cost. And it really is a win for the teachers and the environments that are getting to try them out. So I would say trying them out and aligning the tool with all of the other kind of criteria we use for other technology, that is the best inroad for choosing a tool.
A ton to consider across all areas. This is emerging, as you said, so quickly. A lot for districts to consider, a lot for parents and students and administrators to consider. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Excellence isn't just a goal, it's a standard. The Great PA Schools GPS designation honors Pennsylvania public schools that go above and beyond, where rigorous academics, strong community ties, financial responsibility, and resilience come together. Today, we're highlighting one of our GPS ribbon recipients, Plum Borough School District.
The Pennsylvania School Board Association recognized the Plum Borough School District as a great Pennsylvania school for excellence in academics, financial health, resilience, and community involvement. Our strong community connections is demonstrated by initiatives such as the Portrait of a Graduate, the Future Ready Comprehensive Plan, the Make a Wish Telethon, which has granted 251 wishes for families. Plum was also recently named a nationally recognized Unified Champion School by the Special Olympics for our inclusive culture. Plum's dedication to community partnerships prepares students for college, career, and beyond.
We're looking for the next great Pennsylvania school district. Visit greatpaschools.com to share your success story or apply for the GPS ribbon. You're watching the Keystone Education Report.
Welcome back to the Keystone Education Report. We're continuing the conversation on AI in the classroom and education with two leaders supporting schools across Pennsylvania. Michael Stein is the Innovation Systems Coordinator at the Berks Career and Technical Center, and Dr. Carla Sauer is the Assistant Executive Director at Blast IU-17. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Michael, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you about the CTC that you work for, and I know you do some work with some other CTCs, but how is AI being used right now today in your CTC?
Well, for us, for the most part, our main focus was making sure that we level set everyone that was working in our organization to understand what artificial intelligence was and how it was going to impact their work.
Okay.
So in the start, it was to go through and work with everyone to enable them to understand how to employ AI properly, with purpose, and also ethically in the work that they do. And that went from anyone that's working in the offices through any of the support staff to the faculty, administrative roles, all of them. From there, then we wanted to identify where we could use AI to enhance and create better product and outcomes for those that are using it, particularly in the focus of instruction with the faculty and making materials and generating things more quickly than they would have traditionally in the past, having to do all that research and generating things and so forth. From there, and that was probably the last couple of years, now we're exploring how we can utilize tools and different things that are front-facing to the students to allow them to begin to interact with AI experiences. But we're not quite yet at our school where we are at a place where we're giving the students full access to any kind of AI systems for them to do their work. Okay. That's kind of the guardrails that we have in place at this point, where there are some other CTCs that I've dealt with which were like turn it all on and give them full access to things, and others which are completely reserved on even not even giving some of their staff and so forth their access to it, in a sense that it's kind of driven by the school as their initiative. I mean, they can go and do it on their own, but it's not something where they're sponsoring it.
What's the reaction been with, let's take your CTC. It sounds like you've gone through very methodically and kind of gone through steps to roll it out. What's the response been to that? Has it been embraced widely? Have you had challenges?
It's mixed.
Okay.
CTC environment is a bit different than your traditional academic environment. We have a very broadly differentiated background, particularly when it comes to instructors and what they're coming from when it comes to their acceptance level of use of technology, and the things that they do in the classroom is kind of related to their feelings of being comfortable with the use of technology. Okay. And the artificial intelligence is also one of these things where they're looking at that going, this is obviously technology, but now it's like this mysterious unknown technology that they're dealing with. They quickly gravitate into wanting to use it when they see how quickly it can do the things that save them time.
Sure.
So that is the main kind of leverage tool, if you will, to try and expose those new or reluctant people
Good
to
way to
using
sell it. We can save you some time if you want to plug in this project.
Yeah, but from the standpoint of actually functionally using it then with the students, they're much more apprehensive. It's not in the CT environment. Again, this is the differentiation between that and the academic environment. The academic environment is going to have a lot more direct kind of conversation with an AI system to kind of go through and explore and think about some of the things that they're going to be interacting with. Whereas in the CTE environment, you're dealing with much more hands-on in most cases. There's a lot more critical, like, doing things with the knowledge that they have to learn about, and it's not a lot less theoretical. And the AI right now is very good at looking at information, providing that with language and synthesizing things and giving you feedback based on words, and it's not necessarily doing things for you yet. That's the future with the robotics and everything else that may come down the road,
So more to
but
come.
how fast that happens, we'll see.
Carla, same question on the IU. As an organization, how have you rolled it out, and where has it really been utilized so far within the intermediate unit?
Very similar, trying to level set and making sure that everyone understands and everyone's educated. As far as what programs they're using, we haven't secured that as well inside the organization. But the biggest thing was making sure everyone's educated, because there is reluctance. This is new, it's a change. And one of the goals for the organization itself is trying to leverage AI to increase productivity for everyone, but at the same time, when you're increasing that productivity, making sure then that we're using the time that's left in the most valuable way, because we're using it and working alongside AI to think critically, not just using it as a replacement.
So we need to pivot a little bit to make sure we're talking about students and kind of their use of it and that sort of thing. What have you seen so far in terms of opportunities that AI has created for students that you serve that maybe weren't there, if there is such a thing as pre-AI? I don't know if that's 2023 or when we want to refer to it, but as AI has kind of come into focus, what are the opportunities it's created?
Well, I think opportunities are endless for AI. And again, we don't know what's out there yet. It's evolving every day. But as I said earlier, working beside the AI tool, thinking critically, we have partnered with the University of Penn to provide our region with some of the latest research in AI in a tiered model, working with district leaders and then building leaders and then ultimately teachers to make their job easier to then transfer that into students. There's always the concern of privacy, which you have mentioned, so we're trying to make sure that we're providing the tools and guidance as an IU to impact that regionally. And again, I think the opportunities are endless for students, especially in the STEM fields. We're seeing that more and more.
Michael, I mean, you talked a little methodically kind of rolling it out within your CTC, but as you've gone across the state and worked with them, what kind of opportunities is it opening up for students?
Well, again, kind of going back to the use of the AI with the students, many were just, let's just turn it all on and give it to them. With that, the concern was, where or are they being, and this is some of the things that I tried to help the schools understand, is are the students being shown how to properly use the AI, as opposed to just use it as this tool and then the cognitive offloading that happens with them just going and asking it to do everything for them. They're not actually thinking, they're not actually challenging themselves on what it is that they're using it for. Along with the things that are like your ethics and whether or not they're using it appropriately, what kind of information are they putting in there, is it private? Again, one of the real easiest ways to talk about that is when to kind of make it something that they can instantly understand is if they, in the career environment they're talking about, and one of the things that's more written based is if you had to write a cover letter and a resume. Well, are you going to upload all of your personal information there, your phone number, your address, your, all the different things that you might find on the top of the resume? That's not necessarily what you want to be putting into all of these systems and providing all that personal identifiable information. So it's a matter of the school also understanding what they should provide the students access to, and then how are they coaching the students to use it properly from the ethics and the safety standpoint. And then from there, how are they going to use it properly that they're going to get good results and understand the outputs that come from them and whether those outputs are going to be something that is accurate or defensible by them. so that they can say, this is how I think, this is how I feel about this particular statement. And the AI really should be that assistant to help them grow out their ideas, as opposed to just provide the ideas and then they regurgitate it out back at you.
So beyond student access, we're talking about their access individually to AI. Are we on the cusp of seeing a challenge around broader access and equitable access across a district, across a region of the state, across the state as a whole? Are you seeing that? I know you work with a lot of CTCs, you work with a lot of districts up in your neck of the woods. Are we going to have that challenge? Is it here already? Do we need to be having the conversation around how do we make sure all students have the same sort of access?
One of the things that I've seen is that you're going to have different schools are adopting this at such a different rate that naturally you're going to now have different levels of integration coming from the tools and the different software companies, AI companies that you might be accustomed to understanding, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, and everything else, and having open access to just flat out talking to an AI versus these educationally based tool systems like your Magic School, your School AI, and some of these other more boutique things, which are always still using the same, for the most part, back ends that they're tying into in the background. It's just eliminating some of the learning curve that comes with utilizing it, because basically all the prompting and all the things that you would typically do when you talk to a traditional AI is taken out of your hands, and you're just kind of playing ad libs and you're filling in the blanks to get the results.
Purpose-built systems versus the raw tool.
Right. And so that's kind of being utilized across all the different schools at a different rate of acceptance or use. The students are doing it on their own, whether the school's a part of it or not, all the way through the school has sponsored it, has an entire package and rolled it out and given it to them. And then for us in the CTE environment, just like any other technology for what we deal with, like we have 16 different districts that come to the one that I work through. And each one of those districts is going to have a different flavor of the month, if you will, in regards to how they have gone about implemented their technology expectations. And that happens with all the technology. So this district might be doing this district might be doing that. So we have to also navigate the disparity that happens with that in the CTC realm.
And I would think, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think level set when they arrive then too. Isn't that, that's going to be one of the challenges.
That's our challenge then, because when they come to us, because they're going to be all over the place in regards to their background and what they've been exposed to and how adept they are at utilizing it properly, or if they're just doing it and using it however they see fit.
And that's a great opportunity for IUs, in all honesty. You talked about that gap, that disparity gap. Our role as IUs are to support districts. And so the work we're doing at BLAST isn't in isolation. IUs across the state are working on implementing tools or providing support to districts to implement tools and guidance and just structure. So, I'm not sure that it will create the gap as wide as we think, because there are institutions or systems in place to make sure that every student has the opportunity to have some experience. Again, I think of my own kids who know a lot more about AI than I do. I remember when ChatGPT just came out and I was like, oh, how about this new thing? They're like, oh, Mom, that's not new. They know already. So it is making sure, again, that we provide the supports to help them in the best possible way grow into it and work collaboratively with AI.
A lot to take in. I think we have a lot more to talk about, but we're out of time today. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Keystone Education Report. Today, we explored how artificial intelligence is influencing education in Pennsylvania, from classroom instruction and administrative support to workforce readiness and responsible implementation. These conversations highlight both the opportunities and challenges that AI presents for schools as educators and leaders work to prepare students for an increasingly technology-driven world. Join us next time as we continue to explore the issues shaping public education across Pennsylvania.